Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to start part 1 of my May vlog, which is very exciting because in May we have two amazing readathons happening. It is the Medieval-A-Thon and it is also the Asian Readathon. So yeah, two readathons I absolutely love and I have participated in multiple times before. And so I tried to match up my TBR. A lot of the books I will be reading this month will be by Asian authors, but not all of them because sometimes I couldn't quite match up the prompts with the books that I have. But yeah, I'm very excited. I hope that we will have an amazing month of reading, like me especially, but also all of you watching. So yeah. Let me tell you what I'm currently reading. So I think I have maybe about 35% of Jade Legacy left. I'm listening to that on audio. This is the last book in the Greenbone saga. It's amazing. I listened to a little bit just before starting this clip and I was crying. It was just so much. Yeah, these characters are really just so flawed, but you grow to love them over the series. So yeah, I'm a bit scared of what's gonna happen in these last chapters now, because it has been quite a long journey with these characters, but I'm also excited to start some new audiobooks after finishing the series. I also have started a kind of graphic autobiography, and that is Heimat by Nora Krug. I don't know if I will read this month because it doesn't really fit in with my plans, so maybe I'll just put this on hold. The lighting is really bad because the sun is shining on my table and then back into my face, so it's really bad lighting right now, I'm sorry. But I have to hurry anyway because I have to get to work. But I wanted to share with you what I want to start first for the readathons, and that is Ace by Angela Chen. I will count this for the highly recommended book by an Asian author for the Asian Readathon, and I will use this as my first book for Medieval-A-Thon to get out of prison, so this doesn't count towards any profession yet. But I thought, you know, I always prefer it to do just one book first that gets me out of prison and then go into one of the professions, because I think that makes sense. So this is the first book I want to read, and I will update you when I have actually time to read something.
So I brought Conjure Woman back to the library today, and I got the Henna voice, which I'm very excited about.
Hey, hi! Today is the 7th of May, so we're almost done with the first week, and my reading progress for Medieval-A-Thon and the Asian Readathon is pretty bad. So I haven't updated you really. I handed in my PhD thesis on Thursday, so that was a lot of work. Like, I was spending all of my time up until Thursday just with that. Didn't really get to reading or anything. So that's done now, which is very, very exciting. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the month goes. I have no feeling for it right now. So I am currently 38 pages into Ace. I like it. I think I started the third chapter, I think. The first two chapters were fine, but more introductory. So I think the next chapters are what I'm here for, to learn more about like societal aspects of asexuality as well. But yeah, I am enjoying it, but it is nonfiction, and my brain was completely fried this week, so I knew that I would not contain any knowledge of this if I read it, so I simply didn't. Basically. But this is the highest priority because it is the first book I want to finish for both of the readathons, and I hope that I can make some good progress this weekend. It's really weird because like for weeks and weeks now I've been working every single weekend, so now to have a weekend completely to myself is such a weird concept. So because my brain was so fried and I couldn't really read any nonfiction, I decided to start a different book. And with this one, I got 28 pages, and that is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. This one I'm so excited about, and I must say that the beginning was amazing. I really enjoyed it. But this is actually the third book of my reading plans because I want to read them in the order of the prompts for the Medieval-A-Thon. So I think I will put this on hold a little bit. I mainly started this because I was taking a bath on Thursday night. But as I said, my brain was completely fried. I read 15 pages, which I think is the first chapter. And then I just stared at the tiles for an hour. So yeah, I really like the beginning of this, and I'm so intrigued, and I hope I will love it. If I do enjoy it by the halfway point, I will order the second book so I can read the whole duology this year. And yeah, I'm just very intrigued. But I think I will talk more about what this is about when I am a little bit more into it, because I don't really know a lot yet. It basically follows Mare. I don't really know how to say the name. It's a bit weird because Mehr is actually a German word. It means more. It is written exactly in the way that her name is. So it's a bit confusing, and I had to like tell my brain, remember, it's not a word, it's a name. As I said, I'm struggling a bit. But yeah, we follow her. She is the daughter of a nobleman, but from what I gathered, she's mixed race. She also has a smaller sister, and their dynamic really reminded me of the second season of Bridgerton, just because that is very recent in my mind, and we have this like big sister who wants to be strong and protect her smaller sister and make sure that she has a good life, but for that she has to sacrifice a lot. So that's the vibes that I was getting. They're much younger than the Bridgerton sisters, so I think that I think Arva is the name, the small sister, the younger sister. I don't know why I say small. Whatever. The younger sister is still a child. I think she's like 8 years old or something like that. And Mare is more of a teenager, like maybe, I don't know, like 16, 17, 18, something like that. So yeah, liking the vibes. I'm very happy to finally read this book. But as I said, Ace is my priority for now. And with my audiobook, Jade Legacy, I'm almost done. I have less than 3 hours left. So I'm very afraid because people told me that the ending is very emotional again, and I've already been crying quite a bit in this book. So yeah, maybe I can finish the audiobook this weekend or maybe at the beginning of next week. And yeah, I don't know. Let's try this like free time thing. I don't know how it works. I will clean my apartment now and then hopefully get some reading done. So I spent the whole afternoon outside reading, and I'm now halfway through Ace, finally. This is a very interesting read, and I'm enjoying my time with it. It definitely makes me think a lot and reevaluate certain situations of my own life. You know, just thinking about when certain things that I did were actually what I wanted, or whether there was some kind of like societal expectations that certain things should happen if you're a certain age or if you're in a certain type of relationship and stuff like that. So that's very interesting. I have just finished the second part, so I'm not quite sure what comes next. But in these first 2 parts, we get a little bit of an introduction what asexuality actually means, and there's also some more historical references to kind of like the development, where it comes from, that was very much something that grew because of the internet and certain forums where people could meet and relate to each other and stuff like that. That was all very interesting. And then it went into 3 kind of intersections, I want to say. So it talks about gender and asexuality, it talks about race and asexuality, and it talks about disability and asexuality. And I think if you read this book, you can definitely tell that the author is a woman and Asian. She really talks about those intersections, and she also talks about masculinity quite a lot, which I thought was interesting. And yeah, I just felt like you could really tell when these are things that the author has her own experiences, because especially with the disability chapter, it's probably also harder. And I mean, she talks about why there's not too many people who are in the disabled community and at the same time in the asexual community. She talks about why that is, but I still feel like that fell a bit short for me. The emphasis there was definitely on why the asexual community maybe doesn't want disabled people, and she is, the author is definitely saying that that's not right, and that disabled people should be welcomed into the community as well. And I think on the whole, she really advocates that anyone can be part of this community, and that it can also be like a fluid thing, that you don't have to be asexual for all of your life, that things can change, that people do maybe find that one person and then realize that they're demisexual or something like that. So yeah, I really like that emphasis on the identification with something, but that doesn't have to define your whole life at every single moment in every single situation. It's not about that, and I think that is very important when it comes to any kind of a sexual orientation or any kind of identity at all, that there can always be moments when that might not be relevant, or that might not be you know, the most important thing that structures your life or whatever. Not always good at talking about things in English. But yeah, I really like that perspective. I still was a little bit disappointed because I was hoping it would go a little bit further with the disability theme, because I think she really portrays the way that there are certain groups of people and societies that are seen as asexual in a way that we see them as not human, and so we don't think, or not as like adults, not as like grown-up human beings, and so we think that these people don't have a sexual drive because, yeah, we don't see them as fully grown humans. And I think that is very interesting, but I think it could have been explored a bit more from the point of view of actual disabled people that might be asexual or demisexual or something like that. But yeah, as I said, I do understand that it's probably hard to find these people to interview, but I always want more disabled rep, and I do have the Disability Visibility book on my little pile of books I got for my birthday as well, so I'm very excited for that one. But yeah, that's just always my complaint when it comes to these books, that I'm like, I want more of this. I want more visibility for disabled people. I want these discussions, and I want like people to know the horrible things that happened to disabled people, or in general people that were seen as unfit, as it is called in this book as well. There is the example of one ruling of the Supreme Court where a woman was allowed to be sterilized against her will because she was seen as ill. and that's just something that we don't talk about a lot, and it is just something that is very, very important to me. Like when I first learned about eugenics and the way that the Nazis sterilized and killed people that they saw as unfit, which were a lot of disabled people, people with mental illnesses and stuff like that. It was just so horrifying to me. I'm rambling, I'm sorry. I'll shut up now and read the rest of the book. So today is the 9th of May and I have some updates. I have finally finished reading Ace by Angela Chen. This took me a while just because last week was a lot, but I really enjoyed this book. I think it's very interesting. I already talked a little bit about the content. And yeah, so yesterday I read the third part of the book, which was a little bit miscellaneous. So it has the title Others or something like that. So it is really that. It has some chapters that feel like they don't really fit anywhere else and they don't really fit very well together, which is the one kind of critique I have of this book. I absolutely support what is written in here. I think it has a lot of important messages. It's a lot of great information and I would highly recommend the book. But speaking as someone who critiques books as well, I would say the weakest point of this is the structure and who it addresses, because that wasn't really clear while I read the book. So there are some chapters that can be very helpful for people who might be asexual, but they're not quite sure yet. And that is especially the beginning, when Angela Chen also talks about her way to finding the label of asexual and what it means and what can be considered asexual and stuff like that. It also talks about some other people and how they found that term and what it means to them. And that can be very helpful, obviously. Then there's some parts that is, I would say, the smallest part of the book that feels more interesting to people who are asexual and maybe just are interested in the way that other people deal with their asexuality and what it means for their relationships and stuff like that. So there's some parts that focus more on, you know, the issues and problems that come with asexuality and maybe some examples how you can deal with it. It has a big focus on communication, which I always think is very, very helpful. And in that regard, it may also be interesting to people who are dating people that are asexual because of those aspects. But then there's also parts in this book that very much feel like interesting to pretty much anyone. So you don't have to be asexual or wondering whether you may be asexual. I can't talk right now, I'm sorry. And this book still has some great information, and I think it's just a great resource talking about, you know, our societal expectations when it comes to sexuality and how, especially for romantic relationships, we always assume that sex has to play a role in that, and that can be very oppressive, not only for asexual people, but also for just people who have a lower sex drive than their partners. And that's also something this book talks about. So I think that it's very hard to kind of recommend this book in its totality because, depending on who you are and what you're looking for, you're going to find some bits more interesting than others. And you will have some chapters where you're probably wondering why they're in there. So I still recommend it. I gave it 4.5 stars just because of that. But as I said, I think the content, everything it talks about is very important and very interesting as well. So check this book out if you feel interested. I don't know why I gave you like a whole review right now. But yeah, that's something I felt like doing. The other book I finished, so this was the Medieval-A-Thon book that is supposed to get me out of prison, and it is the book for a highly recommended book by an Asian author for the Asian Readathon, so check for those. The other book I finished was my audiobook, Jade Legacy, the last book in the Greenbone saga by Fonda. I will do a complete reading vlog for that series, which was great. I really enjoyed the last book. It made me cry. It was so emotional, and I decided to give that one 4.5 stars as well. I think the last book is in some way the best book in the series, because it just builds up so much, and by that point you're so enthralled with these characters, you really care for them. And I think Fonda has just the best way of making you feel a lot of things, and I did feel a lot of things. So yeah, that's what I finished. And so now it's time to get into the second book for Medieval-A-Thon. So this will be the first book for the seamstress prompts. And that is a book that you're unsure about. So I have Mathilde by Leonhard. I have started it yesterday, like 20 pages maybe, and it is interesting. It is one of those books that could have been a German classic, but somehow wasn't, so I'm interested to see why it wasn't. I was actually able to find it on Goodreads, which was surprising to me, and apparently Leonhard was someone who was a acquaintance of Thomas Mann, which is one of the probably most popular writers that were in exile during the Second World War in the US, so they knew each other in the US. I'm interested to see what this book has in store for me. But then I also started a new audiobook, and that one is for a later prompt of the Medieval-A-Thon, but that one also works for Asian Readathon, and that is Love Marriage by Monica Ali. I hope that's correct. I'm so bad with names. But yeah, I've started it. I'm not even an hour in, but it is very interesting. This basically focuses on a couple, and the family of the woman is Indian, or what is it, Bangladeshi? I don't know what the English term would be. I'm not quite sure yet, because I think the author is from Bangladesh, but then in the book, I listened to it on audio, sometimes I miss stuff, but there was this line that her family might not be Indian enough. So that was a little bit confusing, so I'm not quite sure where the family is from, but like either of those countries. And the future husband of her is British, English, I think. And his mother was is still a very celebrated feminist who's very open, especially in the sexual sense. So it's also very interesting to read that after Ace, I think, with that kind of very strong sexual feminism, sexual liberation and stuff. And I think it is about these two families coming together, maybe clashing, but I think it's not about clashing in the traditional sense, but more what do these views do to each other, maybe. So I think it is about the moms and how they influence each other, but I'm not quite sure. I've only just started it, but so far I think it's very, very interesting, and I really like the voice of the narrator for the audiobook, but also of the main character, the voice that the story is told in. I think that she's very relatable. She definitely has other problems than marriage and her family, but you can totally tell how this pressure of their families meeting for the first time before their marriage is something that just takes over her brain, and she can't do anything about it because she just worries about it so much. And I think that's just very relatable, that sometimes, even though you have bigger problems, these things just take up so much space in your head, and especially with families. So yeah, I'm very intrigued for that book, and I'm sorry I'm so rambly today. I'm really rambly. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for that audiobook. Not sure about my physical read, but that's the whole idea of the prompt. So yeah, I will let you know more once I have read more. So today is the 14th of May. I actually wanna finish this vlog off after this weekend. So we have like about 2 weeks of reading in this vlog. My reading is not going well, as you probably could have guessed, because there's no updates. This week I was traveling a little bit. I went to my new place of work because I started a second job in a different city. So I went there for the first time and checked out my office and stuff like that, which was interesting, but the train ride home was horrendous. Apart from that, I tried reading, but it's just not going well. So I am still making my way through my book I'm unsure about for the Medieval-A-Thon, and as you can probably guess, that is not working out so well. I don't know why I thought reading a German classic that is over 400 pages would be a good idea, but somehow I did. Because I knew nothing about this book. So I'm currently about 140 pages into it. So my goal is to read 100 pages of this today. Is this possible? I don't know. Probably not, because this is slow as fuck. But it has gotten a little bit more interesting now. We're basically just following this girl, Mathilde, who lives in Switzerland, and yeah, she's now a young woman. She has been married, but that didn't work out so well. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. She just went back to her home, and we'll see what happens next. But yeah, it's very slow, very male gazy, because, you know, it's written by a man, it's a classic. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this book. So then the next book for the next prompt I have already started, because like this German classic, I don't want to like take it along when I go on the train and when I read in the bath. So I have already started Empire of Sand, and this book I'm thoroughly enjoying. I'm currently 100 pages in. And I really like it. I really love the main character. The plot is getting so interesting now. We basically follow a girl called Mare. I said that before. But yeah, the point where I'm at right now, she's basically forced to marry someone she doesn't know. So we'll see whether that ends up being romantic, like kind of a forced marriage romance thing. I'm not quite sure about that yet, but I really love the whole world building, the idea of this quite, yeah, just an empire that is trying to, yeah, get rid of these people that Mare is a part of, because her mother was of those people. And yeah, I'm very intrigued to see where it goes, because I think now that Mare is leaving her household where she grew up with her father and her sister and her stepmother, where she lived a very sheltered life, I think we will get to see a lot more of the world and what's behind all of it. So I'm very intrigued to see where it goes from here. So yeah, really enjoying this one, but it's not my primary read night right now, otherwise I would be blowing through it. But first I have to read Mathilde. And then I'm also already working on my fourth book, which is Love Marriage, and that one is my audiobook. I think I'm about almost halfway through now, and that book is so interesting because I really thought it would be about the relationship of the two mothers. So I have explained this before. I think we have a Indian girl, like she is British, but her parents came from India, and like English dude, and they want to get married, and I thought it would mainly focus on their mothers, who then meet because of that marriage, and the English mother is like a pure feminist and doesn't have a husband and stuff like that, and the Indian mother is more traditional, maybe on the outside, but also when she lived still in India, she was studying at the university, and now she's kind of reduced to that migrant housewife role, or that stereotype. And I thought it would focus a lot on that, on what happens with them because of that new acquaintance. But honestly, we basically watch the life of the main character, so the girl who's getting married, unravel. Her name is Yasmin, and it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. I don't know if you would consider these things spoilers, but there's a lot going on with her family. Her brother is a sociologist, I think I mentioned that before as well, and his life is not really going according to his family's plans. And then we have the whole like mother situation, what's going on there. We also have the things that her soon-to-be husband is doing, and that is a whole nother thing. And now, as a reaction to him, our main character also did some very questionable things. And yeah, it's very different from what I expected, just like watching her like carefully made plans all fall to pieces. And yeah, just hopefully her realizing that maybe this like well-trodden path of a marriage and stuff like that is not perfect as she imagined it would be. So we'll see. It's very interesting. I'm really enjoying it. I really like the main character and I'm definitely rooting for her, but at the same time I'm afraid. I'm so afraid. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So I did some reading, but I'm nowhere near who I wanted to be. So yeah, I'll update you when anything interesting happens. So I have 100 pages left in Mathilde. Pretty sure I will finish it today and then I'll talk more about it. The last 100 pages will now take place during the Second World War, so I'm intrigued to see where it goes. But yeah, it's definitely a weird book because I never know what's gonna happen next. So the lighting isn't quite right now, I'm sorry, but I wanted to end this vlog. It is the 16th of May today, and I give you a final update for the first half of the month. So yesterday I finished Mathilde by Leonhard. This was my second official book for the Medieval-A-Thon. So now I made it to the rank of Squire and finished my first prompt for the seamstress career. With this one, I read a book that I was unsure about, and in the end I decided to give it 3.5 stars. I thought it was interesting. It's definitely not my favorite book, and it reminded me a little bit of Farewell to Arms, because this is, or could be considered, a kind of pacifistic anti-war novel. This was written by a German author who had to flee the Nazis, and he is writing about a girl in Switzerland, and the ending, in the end she basically marries a English man and he goes to war in the Second World War, and it's all about her anxieties and the hardships he has to go through, and basically the author put some of his own kind of refugee story into that, because he had a very hard time leaving Europe and getting to safety, and he put some of his experiences into the storyline of that Englishman. So it was interesting. I still think that it lacked a little bit of a like straight storyline. It felt very much like real life, like we just follow Mathilde from a young age until she has her own daughter and the war is over and stuff like that. So yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't my favorite read. I'm not quite sure what to do with this book, because I've read that this is out of print and it's very hard to get. So originally I just wanted to put it back into a little free library, but this is also not in a very good condition. So I'm not just sure what to do with this now. But yeah, that was my second read, and I am now 140 pages into Empire of Sand, which will be my third official book for the Medieval-A-Thon, and this will also count towards the Asian Readathon. So yeah, this is my goal for this week, to definitely finish that. Really enjoying it still. I'm very intrigued to see where the story goes. There's a lot of mystery, a lot of mythology that I can't wait to dive into. I really enjoy this, and we have now entered the desert, which is what I'm here for. So yeah, can't wait to keep reading that. And then with my audiobook, Love Marriage, I have 6 hours left, and I'm also really enjoying that, so I'm very intrigued to see where that goes. That will be my 4th book for the Medieval-A-Thon and will also count towards the Asian Readathon. I don't even know which prompt, but some prompt. I think I have it for the general read a book by an Asian author prompt. So yeah, it's going fine, I guess. I still have a ton of books I want to read this month. I think this vlog may have been a little bit boring, but my life was just really overwhelming the last couple of weeks, so I hope it wasn't too bad. I hope you had fun watching this. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, what your reading plans for Medieval-A-Thon or the Asian Readathon for the rest of the month are, and yeah, I will keep you updated. Bye!